especially since I can switch between general aviation if I just want to have a scenic flight in a Cessna, or if I want to mainly use my 737, which is what I normally fly. So hey everybody, Kaiden here, and today I have the Honeycomb Aeronautical Bravo Throttle Quadrant with autopilot and annunciator panel. Now very quickly, to those of you who do not know much about aviation or flight simming in general, this is for flight simulators such as X-Plane 11, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, FSX, and a bunch more that this is compatible with. Now flight simulators, they're meant to simulate flights, and it's really fun. It's just much more than a game. And this right here, this plugs right into your computer and is used to simulate a real throttle quadrant on an aircraft. Now, if you don't know what a throttle quadrant is, a throttle quadrant, it pretty much just controls and manages the thrust and power of the engines of the airplane. And also included with this, of course, is the autopilot and annunciator panel. So there's just a lot more things on here that you can use, much more than a throttle quadrant, I should say. If there was a full word length for this, it'd be Bravo Throttle Quadrant with gear lever, with flap switch, with trim wheel. See, there's a bunch of stuff on here, and that's what makes this awesome. Alrighty, so I'm really excited to unbox this. Now, there's a lot more in-depth reviews on YouTube, a bunch of aviation channels, and as well as people who just make videos on these when this first came out. Now, I'm a little bit late to the party as I got the second batch of production Honeycomb Bravo Throttle Quadrants because last year they went out of stock, and they're finally now back again on pretty much almost all the websites you can find this on. Now I finally got one here, so I'm really excited, and this won't be a in-depth review since there are so many reviews and stuff. This is just going to be me pretty much showing you what this is about, and as well as my personal take on what I think about this product. So let's go ahead and slide this out here. Now, if you haven't seen some of my other previous videos on some flight simulator hardware, and oh my gosh, I forgot this is a little bit hard to get out. Let's pull off the top here. Now, if you haven't seen some of my earlier reviews on some flight simulator hardware, I have done a review on the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro, which I started out on, and as well as the Honeycomb Alpha Yoke, which is their first product. This is their second product from Honeycomb. And as you can see here is the box. So I'm really now excited because I actually have a proper throttle quadrant. And of course on the back here it shows all the features and stuff. And now there's a bunch of customizations to this and configurations for what you want to fly, from anywhere from Cessnas up to your large Boeing and Airbuses. And so we'll go ahead and open this thing up. So it looks like this thing just slides out here. Just like that. Alrighty. Ooh, here we go. Alrighty, so first off, we're greeted with these two lovely boxes here. As you can see, this has a commercial and general aviation box here. And so these contain our little throttle levers. Go ahead and bring these both out and show you really quickly. It's a little tricky to get out. Alrighty, there we go. So the nice thing about this is that you can keep this after. And so these are nice little sort of cases to keep your levers in. And so here's the commercial levers here. And there's a nice little magnet there to keep it in. And here are our levers. So as you can see, we have a speed brake handle and as well as a flap lever and 1, 2, 3, and 4 engines. And now this is, I'm pretty sure, yes, I'm very positive that these are supposed to replicate Boeing handles, as you can see there. So these are really cool. Excuse me, oh my gosh. And over here we have our general aviation box. So let's go ahead and open this up. And here's our general aviation levers. Now this of course has our engines as well as our RPM and as well as our mixture right there. And so there's two different options for what you want to fly, whether it be a general aviation aircraft or as well as a commercial aircraft. So here are our two boxes. And let's go ahead and pull off all this foam here. All right, put that down. And here we have it inside of the box with this protective wrapping. And let's go ahead and bring this out. And now, wow, this is a lot lighter than I thought it would be. But here it is out of the box. Looks like we still got a couple more things inside of here. We of course get our little booklets here from Honeycomb. And we of course get our clamps here, which is the same one from the Alpha Yoke, which this is an amazing clamp, by the way. The only problem that I did have was that on my desk, since my desk sort of has like a slanted sort of area on it to rest your hands, it doesn't really clamp well, but other than that, it pretty much fits all desks, and it stays on there really tight as well. You also have a different option to just have a micro suction pad there. And looks like we also have our Honeycomb clamps as well, right there. Go ahead and put these down. And we also have our Type-C USB cable. And it looks like that is about it in the box. So I'll go ahead and put this down here. And then here's that. It's all empty now. So we'll go ahead and put this right here. And I'll go ahead and move these off to the side and show you the throttle quadrant out of the packaging here. Go ahead and put these aside. And here we go. So I've been waiting for this a long time. As of course, this went out of stock, I think, last year. And then so they finally got some more stock of this throttle quadrant now. Let's see, just carefully remove this. Or try to at least. And wow. Already I can tell you it feels really nice, and it has the same sort of rubberized plastic coating as the Alpha. And here it is. Alrighty. That's how it looks like so far. Still have some more plastic on here. Go ahead and take that off. And here it is out of the plastic. As you can see, this thing looks really nice, and as you can tell, it's supposed to hang over the desk to simulate the lower throttle than the Yoke. So this looks really nice already. And straight off the bat here, we have these little protective sort of plastic rubber pieces. Now these pieces here are to be used for the throttle levers that you are not using, so it doesn't collect dust, and as well so it looks a little bit more professional. But as you can see here, which is really cool, is that there's little metal contacts on each of these little levers right here. And the awesome thing is that with these levers here, as you can see, it has a working reverse thrust, and so the metal contacts go into there, and so you can have reverse thrust, which is really awesome. And the reason why this is so awesome is because for the price, this is pretty much the first thing on the market that has been a really awesome bang for the buck product as far as these flight simulator throttle quadrants go. And so I'm just really excited to go ahead and clamp this down and show you the different levers, and as well as move some of the buttons and everything. Alright everybody, so I went ahead and clamped down the throttle quadrant to the desk, and I also already set it up to have a 737 configuration, the 2-engine jet here. So as you can see, what is really cool is that these are modeled after and is a replica of a Boeing throttle quadrant with the speed brake flap, and as well as the engines 1 and 2, and also included is engines 1, 2, 3, and 4, which can be configured for like a 747. But as you can see here, I've went ahead and made this 1 and 2 throttles here. Now, originally this was the throttle number 3 for the configuration on the 737, but the cool thing is, on the right side here, it says that you can turn it so that it looks more realistic 1 and 2 for the 737. And what is really awesome with this is that as you can see here, there's markings along the side to be a replica, like say a 737, and as well as a for an Airbus, which is really awesome. There's room for every sort of aircraft on here. And also, if you're not a fan of flying commercially, you also have general aviation levers right here, as you can see. So if you want to swap it out for like a turboprop or piston aircraft, you can go ahead and switch it out for a general aviation lever. But it's really cool because you have authentic markings here that look like replicas to the real thing. And also included here with just the throttle itself is you have a trim wheel right here to trim out and level out the aircraft, as you can see. You also have a landing gear lever up and down, and it provides a nice sort of click to it. And you also have your autopilot panel here with your heading, nav, approach, reverse course, altitude, vertical speed, indicated airspeed. So there's just a lot of things here. Autopilot button, of course, and as well as if you're flying a general aviation aircraft as well. And so normally in a general aviation aircraft, you're not going to have one of these Boeing style flaps with 1, 2, 5, 10, 15, etc. You'd have this little thing here, which is pushed up and down, as you can see. So there's room for everybody. Whatever you like to sim with, you have it here on the Bravo Throttle Quadrant, which is awesome. And also, one key thing why this thing is super great is because there has been nothing like this on the market as far as the, what do you call it, the abilities of this throttle quadrant here, because there's room for pretty much every simmer. And as well as a cool new feature of this is we have these little metal contacts here, which are awesome because normally, getting into flight simulators before this, if you wanted to make your own reverse thrust, which is like the engine brakes pretty much per se on a jet engine, you would have to actually make this yourself with trying to have a working reverse thrust. There is pretty much nothing on the market that you could get with something like this for this price, which is honestly really awesome that you have that. And you also have a takeoff and go around button, or the toga button here. So it's meant to simulate everything that you'd like to see. And Honeycomb also released an Airbus pack for this as well. So you can replace these Boeing style levers with Airbus stuff as well if you want. And as you can see here, if we move this all the way down, there are detents here. So say for example, if you want to feather your aircraft on like a general aviation thing, you have detents there, as you can see. And also on this thing, I'm just going to move this down for demonstration. Also on this thing as well is that you have switches here, which are all programmable. So these aren't set to anything. You can set these to whatever you want on your simulator. My simulator of choice is X-Plane 11, so I'll be sure to set up what I want in here. And these are sort of the same sort of switches from the Alpha Yoke. And as well as the autopilot panel here, there's a nice little click to it for selecting what you want, and as well as the toggle for what you want. Like say for example, if you want to click any of these buttons, I was expecting these to be sort of like a TV remote when I saw it, because it feels like a TV remote button, but there's actually a nice little click to it. And this one right here, you can of course increase or decrease what you want there. And just overall, this thing looks really nice, and there's a lot of options on this. You of course have your tension here. I have it on the lowest tension setting, as you can see, and it's pretty stiff as well, already at the low tension. But if you do it all the way high up, just like this, it becomes super hard to sort of push up on the throttles, which is great for if you are wanting to fly a big heavy jet like a 747. But since I am flying the 737, I think I will keep it around the lower or the middle sort of section, because there is already a lot of resistance in there, which is really nice. And so overall, just from a demo of moving everything on this, it is already really nice and premium feeling, and I can't wait to get this configured and set up on the 737 Zibo mod on X-Plane 11. So let's go ahead and start flying with this. And oh, one thing I forgot as well is that, as you can see here on the annunciator panel, we have all of our cautions and stuff like master warning, master caution, engine fire, vacuum, lower oil pressure, all of that. And these all light up as well, the same as the landing gear lights here. Now normally on an airplane you'd have green and red lights showing if it is in transit or the gear is coming up or down, and green if it is down or up, which is really cool that you can have that. But you of course have to download the Honeycomb drivers, which I will, and I will set up with the Zibo 737. So let's go to the sim. Alright everybody, so here we are in the flight simulator, and today we are in X-Plane 11 flying the Zibo mod Boeing 737-800. Now I'm going to be doing a quick takeoff and landing, and one quick little thing here I wanted to know is that I do not have any rudder pedals today, so that's going to be a little bit awkward, but that is okay because I still have my trusty Logitech Extreme 3D Pro here, which as you can tell I have modded it a little bit, as you can, I'm very sorry for that. I've modded it a little bit. As you can see, I added this sort of 737 style throttle. I literally just took a glue stick and customized it to look like a 737 throttle, and just a bunch of clips on here, and as well as try to make more tension, but didn't really work out, and it's not that fun to fly with, nor is it realistic But anyways, we now have the Bravo Throttle Quadrant. So this should be a lot more better. We're here in KSLC, or Salt Lake City International Airport, today with Delta Airlines, and the cool thing is that I was able to get these lights working, which all you have to do is download the drivers, which I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to configure the lights, but I just found out that you don't really need to do anything. And one quick little thing for if you fly the ZiboMod 737 and just got the Bravo Throttle Quadrant, you'll notice right away that when you try to configure the autopilot system here, I was first really concerned because I saw that these little selector switches here, increase, decrease altitude, vertical speed, blah blah blah, all said do nothing in the command. So I was like, okay, that's not good. But I found out that it still works either way, which is nice. And when I was trying to configure these little soft buttons here, for example, for this vertical speed, or for this nav system here, right? Or actually a better example is autopilot system, because this one took a lot of time finding, was that I was trying to click and edit this to be configured to something else, right? As you can see there, the autopilot button. I tried to configure that to something else, right? Rather than the default, because it wouldn't engage the autopilots on the 737 here. Now, instead of searching up autopilots to configure it, when you click edit and choose a command that you want, you don't want to search up a general term such as autopilot. You want to look in the cockpit of the ZiboMod 737, okay? And you can see right here is that in real life, it's CMD for the autopilot engage. So when you're trying to search up for a command, make sure that you search up what is actually in the 737 cockpit, because I took a lot of time and I was getting very frustrated. But enough of that, we're gonna go ahead and take off here from runway 34 right at Salt Lake City. So let's see, we have our brakes off, and already this is really nice with the tension and everything. So we're gonna go ahead and start taxiing out here. Now, I do have the, what do you call it? I do have everything configured where I have the speed brakes, the flaps, and as well as the reversers as well. And the annunciator panel works really well. I still have the protective film on there for some reason, I don't know. But it still looks really nice already. And also one thing as well too is that the flaps are a little bit weird because there's no gates to accurately show what flap setting you're at, like with physically feeling it. Because on a real 737, of course, you'd push up on a spring-loaded mechanism, but I don't have that right now. So as you can see, to put down the flaps, it's on an axis, which is really weird. So you kind of have to count the clicks. So we're at flaps 5, gotta wait for another click, flaps 10, and now we are at flaps 15, ready for takeoff. And so now we are just lining up on the runway here. And I can tell you already, this feels really awesome. Alrighty, let's go ahead and just line up our aircraft so we are straight. And now normally you'd click the toga button here, which does work, which is awesome. But since this is not a motorized throttle where you can really see it just actually move up, for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go ahead and manually set our thrust. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start adding onto 40%. And looks stable. We'll go ahead and go full. And we have now successfully taken off. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and reapproach to land on runway. Probably going to try to land 16 left again, so I'll see you then. Alright, so right before we're about to land, since we are at a stable altitude here, I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate to you guys the autopilot system. So, if we go ahead and click the autopilot, as you can see, the light goes on, and we are now have an autopilot engaged here. We'll go ahead and set auto throttle and flight director on, and as you can see, we can set our speed on and off, as you can see there. And also, if we want to say have our speed go higher, we can go ahead and select this little switch here, right, to indicated airspeed. And since indicated airspeed is now on, we can go ahead and increase the speed there. As you can see, it's very satisfying. And as well as, say for example, if we want heading here, we can go ahead and go to the heading system, and we can, of course, program the heading to our liking. As you can see next to our primary flight display, it is actually moving, which is really, really cool. And as well as we can disengage autopilot as well. As you can see, there goes autopilot. And I have a autopilot disconnect button there. We can go ahead and turn all of these off here. So you can see, very satisfying. So let's go ahead and turn right for our descent and approach to runway 16 left. So that was a quick demonstration of our autopilot system here. Alright everybody, so we are now on to approach. I decided to go runway 16 right instead. We are just barely putting some speed down, and there's our gear horn. We'll go ahead and put our gear down now.
Plus 100, 300, minimums, 200, 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
And 60 knots, let off the reversers. And we'll go ahead and put speed brakes up. And I'd call that a very successful landing. Alright everybody, now after doing a takeoff and landing with this, I gotta say, just playing around with it, this is going to level up my flight simming experience, because not only does this actually sort of look like a real 737 throttle with flap and speed brake and stuff, but it's also really, really awesome and very precise, and you can do a lot of things with this. Just the actuation of putting the gear up after takeoff and putting the gear down before landing, and as well as just moving everything around. And I don't know, there's just not enough to say about this. This is a really, really awesome product. Now, the pros about this is that this includes much more than a throttle quadrant. There's so much capability and stuff with this. You can do anything pretty much. I'd even go as far to say as if you're skilled with this, this could also be used further on from flight simulators, such as this could be used for like the levers on like a train or something like that. There's just so much that you can do with this for commercial aviation, general aviation, and as well as I think even for some space and combat flight simulators like DCS, you could definitely do some stuff with that there. And also just I really like the design of this as well, and also it is actually pretty light. I was expecting this to be heavy, but I'm pretty sure that they just made this base back here just hollow based on how it sounds, and there's no weight in the back of there. So overall, this thing is a awesome thing. And one thing I forgot to mention as well is that these little rubber pieces right here. Now normally, when we first unboxed this, it had these little rubber pieces that go in between here. Not only does it protect this from dust, but also makes it look like a lot more professional, if that makes sense, so you don't see inside of it, and as well as you don't see the metal contacts. And there's just so much pros to say about this. From the drivers that work with the lights, that is also really awesome too. I think also another thing is that there's just a lot of features on this, such as the working toga, of course your reverse thrust, you also have your programmable switches, and as well as your autopilot here. Your trim as well, which is really awesome, especially if you're going to be trimming out your general aviation aircraft. But even for me, who's going to be using the electronic trim with the 737 Yoke, which I use on the Alpha Yoke to move it up and down, this still makes it look way more authentic and like a 737, which is awesome. So there's room for everybody here with the Honeycomb Bravo Throttle Quadrant, and I can't wait for their more releases of products. But so far, their first two products that they have made has already blown everybody out of the park, because it's just awesome. There's just too much to say about this for the pros. Although there are some cons though with this, which was kind of a little bit, not say anything fault to do to the design of this, just for the realism of it. But one of them is that, as you can see, you're just resting it on our little table desk here. Since it is made so that it's supposed to hang off and sort of be like a throttle quadrant on a aircraft, as you can see, when we rest it, the only problem is that it would be okay if we were just resting it on this part and the back. The problem is this trim wheel here. It rests on this trim wheel. I'm scared because there's electronics in here, of course, and as you can see, when we're moving it, as you can see, it rests right on the trim wheel, and you can kind of tell from this side here. That's just the only problem with it, is just for the long-term values of this throttle quadrant here. And also another thing that is sort of my personal with the realism of it, is that in a 737 you have gates here on your flap levers. So when you want to actuate a flap in the 737, you don't move it like a smooth axis like this. You have a spring-loaded mechanism where you pull it up and you put it over into a gate. Now, there's a person who has this website, it's called flapmodster.com, and they do free 3D prints for both general aviation and as well as the 737, which is really awesome that he puts it out to free. So shout out to Russ for creating that website and his team, because they actually have modifications where you can actually make the spring loaded and set these gates so it's more realistic. So that's kind of not really a con. You just have to find somebody who can provide you with a 3D printer, or you have to 3D print it. And also another thing is that these little throttle levers right here are a little bit small. Normally in real life you'd have a more chunkier sort of look. It would go out to the more of the side here, but as you can see, it's very small. So it's not the real life size with the actual Bravo, or with the actual 737 throttles, but that's just the thing that they had to do for the design of keeping it sort of centralized. And of course, I don't think that the flap and speed brakes are real life size as well. But other than that, this has just been really amazing to fly with. The pros are pretty much endless on this. Just everything is awesome with the room for both general aviation, different types of commercial aviation, and as well as just the features you get with this for this price. Which, talking about the price, normally this thing was $250, but the price has gone up to $280. Now it is still really awesome for the price, because this is pretty much the only thing that you can get on the market that includes this many things at this quality. Because before, if you had to get all the Sci-Tech stuff, they did not have any replica 737 or Boeing style handles. You had to buy them for a pretty insane price or make them yourself. They discontinued, or Sci-Tech discontinued their trim wheel, which also cost a good amount of money, and as well as just the features on here are endless, I'm telling you. It's just super duper awesome to have this here, especially since I can switch between general aviation if I just want to have a scenic flight in a Cessna, or if I want to mainly use my 737, which is what I normally fly. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're looking to buy this, I'd give it a big thumbs up. The only thing though to be a little bit worried about is the price. I got this for around $280 to $300, which is honestly pretty pricey, but if you're going to want to have a professional flight simulator setup, I definitely recommend this because there's pretty much nothing that can compare at this price point. So give it a big thumbs up, a huge thumbs up actually, and even when it's not connected to sim, it is very fun to play with everything. But hope you guys enjoyed my video, and if you did, be sure to give it a like, and also if you want to see more videos like these, be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching guys. Bye!